All right. What is going on, everybody? Donnie Rouse here, and today I'm going to share a story with you about my most recent trip to Casablanca. And mainly, what I'm going to share with you is how the experience I had there really relates to life in terms of the uncertainty that that awaits you in every new decision you make, but as well as all the things that are around you that are there to throw you off your path. So, without further ado, hi guys, my name is Donnie Rouse, and you are listening to the podcast One Life Lost in Marrakesh. The path to where you are right now and to the vision you have, if you have a vision, you better have a vision, is plagued with traps and dead ends. And the most important thing that you could learn when you're moving towards your one life is exactly to understand what exactly you are going to experience in the process, but also having a clear vision for what it is that you're going after. Because without that clear vision, then it is very hard to get there because you're going to be caught going in a million different directions. And not only that, is that there's other things at play. There's other people who want to use you for their own purposes, for their own goals. So you have to become super conscious of when this is happening, when you're getting thrown off path. So this way you can autocorrect. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share with you an experience I had when I went to Casablanca. And this experience is very rich because it relates so much to life. And it was an epiphany that I had as I was doing a journaling exercise post-trip. So whenever I book a travel, I always start and end in the same city. One of the reasons I love doing this is because it gives me a different perspective on the city. When I arrive in the city, I am like, it's very foreign to me. And as a result of going around this trip, it's almost like I had gone through a battle and like I have all the scars. And when I come back, all of a sudden now I understand the city. It feels comfortable to me. When I landed in Marrakesh, I was a little bit apprehensive to go into the city center by myself because I had heard stories from other travelers how when you're in Casablanca, specifically, they had mentioned Marrakesh and Fez, that you have to be extremely careful when you're going around the Medina. One, because there are people who are going to try to show you the way, say, hey, where are you going? And you'll tell them where you're going, and they'll tell you that you're on the wrong path and that they'll show you the way. And what they end up doing is they take you this roundabout way, and then they ask you for money. And if you don't give them money, then they might get a little nasty to you. So anticipating this, when I was in Marrakesh, I befriended a girl from Germany. And coincidentally, through a conversation at the airport, we were like, oh, well, why don't we just go there together? So we took a taxi there and we wandered around the Medina. And the Medina is like a maze, right? Like, I think one thing that every single person should do at some point in their life is to get lost in a Medina in Morocco. Because there's this myriad of streets and stalls. And so many, in the case of Marrakesh, so many people were selling the same thing. You think you were just lost in a maze, and like that you would go around thinking that you were making progress, but all of a sudden you would end back up at the same spot. So I befriended a girl, and I went to we joined forces, and we walked to our hostel. But even when we got there, we were very skeptical because we had gotten dropped off at this right outside the Medina wall. And we had to walk through this one souk that pretty much led us right to our hostel. But in order to get to this hostel, we had to go down this one of the souks. And then we had to take a left into this walkway that didn't look like it led anywhere. There was like a stall selling vegetables, and then you would take a left and then curve around the corner, and then at the very end in this dark alley was our hostel. There was every night there was these guys who looked kind of sketchy, just like hanging out there. They never gave me any problems, but it was just I was on high alert when I was there. So having spent like the first day in Marrakesh, I went out on my own the next day, and I was, I'm just gonna go exploring. I'm gonna go see where I can get lost. And that particular day, I went to look for this one coffee shop that was known for making spiced Moroccan coffee, but not necessarily with espresso, but rather with a Turkish coffee pot. I'd seen this gentleman on many travel shows, so I was like, all right, that is my one thing. If I do this one thing, this trip, this day and this trip has been a success. So I'm wandering around and I'm trying to find this damn Medina, right? And it's saying, I think it was like, I don't even remember the name of the Medina, but it was like way at the end, like away from all the tourist stuff. And so many times I would be walking down and then I would kind of backtrack because I was like, oh, I think I'm going the wrong way, or I feel like I'm going too far out. So then I was like, no. Remember the objective. I'm going to have coffee at this place, right? That was one of the main reasons I went to Marrakesh in the first place. So I was like, okay. So I continued down, and eventually I came to this little area. I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty awesome, right? There's not many tourists here. And then once I turn the corner, I find this coffee shop. I was greeted by a guy who was, super friendly. And when I told him that I worked in coffee and I wanted to record him doing his process, he was more than happy to oblige and, walk through all the steps as well as the spices that he added to this coffee. He also went on to make me the most amazing breakfast that I had ever had while I was in Marrakesh, at least, and probably the best breakfast of the trip. And then, so after the coffee, I was, what, let me browse around a little bit more and make my way back to my hostel. Walking by, someone calls me and they're like, hey, come, they complimented me on my shoes, right? You're going to get people who are trying to get you into their stalls the entire time you are visiting any city in Morocco, but especially in Casablanca and in Marrakesh. I'm sorry, Fez and Marrakesh. So as I was walking by, he complimented me on my shoes, and I love my shoes. Because I 3 pairs of the same shoes that have my favorite colors, like it's like a orange, blue, and like a turquoise and white. Anyways, he complimented me on my shoes, so immediately I turn around and he engages me in conversation. All of a sudden, now I'm in his shop. And he's showing me all these different bracelets, telling me these stories that he's a Berber and that these are all Berber silver, handmade. And I'm looking at it, I didn't even want a freaking bracelet. And we're going through these bracelets, and he's like, come on, let me, 600, whatever the currency is. He's like, 600. And he's like, he wanted 600 each. I was like, no, you know what? I don't want it. It's not that, they're nice, but I just don't want a bracelet. Then all of a sudden, as he started going down, and well, what would you want to pay for it? He got me to buy into the entire process. So as a result, I ended up buying this what I was told was a copper and silver bracelet. I really don't think it is, because it left a nice blue ring around my wrist. And I bought it and I went off, and I thought I had a good deal, because he's sitting there. He's like, all right, we went from $60, the equivalent of $60 down to like $20. So as I'm going around the trip and I'm visiting the different cities, I'm starting to get more familiar with not just with the surroundings, because a lot of the Medinas are kind of structured the same way, but just with the culture and understanding how to engage in the art of negotiation. But I'm also getting real world experience in terms of like, what do things actually cost, right? Because when you get off the plane, like, you don't know what the hell it costs. You're like, oh man, yeah, this bracelet, if I were to buy in the States, I'd probably pay $100 for it, at least $100. What I quickly realized, I went to Chefchaouen, and I was in the shop. And Chefchaouen, there's tourists there, but it's not the same culture as it is in Marrakesh and Fez. So I'm there, and I'm looking at one of the bracelets that they just happen to be the same exact bracelet one of the ones that I wanted but didn't buy, and it was like $8. I'm like, man, the guy got me really good, right? He made me believe that I had this deal. And then, so I overpaid by at least like a factor of 3. So long story short, so as I'm going all the way around, I visited 5 cities. So in Marrakesh, Tangier, Chefchaouen, Fez, and I think I'm in Casablanca. Did I say that? Anyways, so I arrived back at Marrakesh, but this time I'm with one of my friends. I'm with my friend Ludwig from Germany that I had met in Casablanca, and we're walking through the the Medina, and all of a sudden things are familiar to me. Like I'm walking around the Medina and I'm walking very confident. People are trying to ask me, "Oh, do you need directions? You want to go?" And I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I know exactly where I'm going." And I walk and I was guiding him, having been through Marrakesh before. I warned him as to what he needs to watch out for, and what to be careful of, and how to get to his hostel. And as I was started buying some souvenirs, all of a sudden now when I was engaging with the people, right, and they're telling me one price, and having traveled for the last 2 weeks, I knew exactly what the cost of these things were. So now when we went to barter, we went to negotiate. I knew exactly what they were, so I wasn't willing to budge above what that was, and they would come down, and it just worked, right? Because now I had the education, now I had the experience, and I had when I arrived back in Marrakesh, I was talking to, I met a guy, I believe he was from Canada, Indian guy from Canada, and he was just like asking me like suggestions and what I should do, anything that I like would recommend. And one of the things he had told me when he got there, that he was going down that same corridor that I had mentioned in the beginning, and those guys who were at the who were hanging out in that little walkway stopped him, and they said, "Hey, where are you going?" He said the hostel name, and they're like, "No, no, no, you're going the wrong way." And he's looking at his Google map, and he's like, "I'm pretty sure it's like literally 10 feet straight ahead." And they got him to believe that he was going the wrong way, and they ended up shaking him down for, I can't remember what amount of money they wanted from him, but they ended up shaking him down for at least like $20. And he told me this story, and he was got very, very agitated to it. But how true is that of life, right? It's so easy to try to trust people into thinking that they have your best interest in mind, but in reality, they have their own best interest in mind. And not only that, because in life, you're not always going to have the map that is going to take you directly to it, right? Often, like life leads you in all these different directions, and like you kind of ping pong back and forth. And eventually, you start to get momentum, you start to move forward. But all of these experiences, as they did with Marrakesh, are literally giving you the battle scars. And now all of a sudden, when you're confronted with something, you know exactly how to act. You know what the pitfalls are. And as a result of having the trip, you know exactly how to get to your destination because you have that contrast. And so the point I want you to take away from this story here is that one, that if you don't have a plan for your life, someone else does. And it's likely that they don't have your best interest at heart. Secondly, is that life is, there's not always a straight line to your destination. You need to have, at least at the very, very least, a general idea of where it is that you want to go. And trust that just by taking that first step, that all of a sudden now you are, you're going to be in motion. And as a result of being in motion, things and experiences are going to come into your life that are going to give you more clarity, that are going to guide you along your way. And lastly, if I had to give you one more lesson as a result of this, is just to trust the process. Like life gives you exactly what it is that you need. And when you trust the process, it's a matter of just like kind of if going with the flow, as I did here as a result of having this trip. It just connected me with my driving desire. It connected me back with my passion, like my love for travel, and also gave me a new perspective on my business in terms of how I'm approaching it, what steps I need to take going forward. And that all came from just stepping away from the noise, and the constant stimuli from being home here. So one of the reasons why I love traveling is because whenever I step away and I'm away from the noise, it gives me some clarity. It gives me, like I have new experiences to share. I'm revitalized because, it's not just work. Now I'm actually going out and having some fun. And it brings a different side of me back, and a different perspective to all the things that I'm doing back home. And as a result of that, I'm able to take new actions and keep moving forward. But the key is that I'm not waiting. The key is I'm not putting off my life for some future point in time to happen, because nothing is guaranteed in life. And I am a firm believer that you have to do the things that are important to you now. You have to make time to live so that it doesn't pass you by, and that you don't get to that one day where you say all the shoulds you should have done. Like, I should have traveled, I should have lived more, I should have spent more time doing with my family, my friends. I should have started that business. I should have taken that leap of faith. Now is the only time that you have. And so trust that whatever you need is going to come to you, that you have everything you need to, at the very least, just to start down that process, whatever it is you want in life. So that is my message for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this little story from Marrakesh. I will, I'll be back on here telling more stories, because there were many lessons that I had taken away from this trip. But as always, I hope you enjoyed this, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with me, to listen to the story. I hope that enrich your life in some way, and that those lessons that you could apply them to your everyday, to just trust that you were guided, but also to check in with yourself to see if this is what you really want, and to just go full force. So that is all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and as always, you only get one life. Remember, live passionately, live purposely, most of all, live now.